Hey guys, Caleb Breyer here, also known as Blitzenburst. Today I'm joined by Collin Heier once again. How are you doing, Collin?
I'm doing good. What about you?
I could be better. Things are busy, I guess. I don't know, school. But that's boring stuff. We need to talk about Pokemon. Because, I could be wrong, but you did get, top 8 at Houston Regionals.
I did.
A bit worse than you placed last year, no?
Yeah, that is true.
What was it last year? Second?
Second place,
Second
yeah.
to Cedric? Okay. So we already talked to Blake on his win. Um, as you can see down here on my screen, we've got Blake's team. But today we're going to focus on your team. So any background you want to do to your team?
So throughout NPA and the PCs leading up to the regional, I
Mm-hmm.
basically exclusively played with Kangaskhan after Worlds because she was like the best Pokemon at Worlds, so I didn't see reason not to focus on using Kangaskhan.
Fair
And I've
enough.
never been much of a Kangaskhan player, so I spent the month after Worlds just basically learning how to use her.
Have you ever entered an event with it before?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Okay.
2 years
Jeez.
before Houston at my first 2014 event in winter in St. Louis, I got top 16 with her.
Okay. It's not
So
bad.
I haven't really touched Kangaskhan since, and then except for some like free PCs.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started playing with her, and I got second at one PC, and then I got top 4 at her with another with actually basically my regionals team, but with
Mm-hmm.
two Pokemon difference, which I almost used those two Pokemon.
Oh, which two
So
Pokemon were
Aegislash and Entei
they? Okay.
over Cresselia Heatran. So I basically just spent the month like boot camping and learning how to play Kangaskhan,
Mm-hmm.
and then before the event I was going to back out on Kangaskhan, but
Okay. It doesn't seem that smart.
but then Jive and Conan, Jive basically said Jive time. He basically was said you basically have to use Kangaskhan plus Thundurus Landorus because that's like all you've used and it's all you're comfortable with. So if you want to like do your best at the tournament, you have to basically use those three.
I mean,
So
using the best 3 in the
yeah,
format, that's not bad at all.
and then I believe he said I had the option of going with more towards what his team ended up being, or
Hmm.
playing with the Azumarill, which was what I've been using. And actually, the first week of MPA, I used almost the same team, but with Latios over Cresselia, just like playing around with Latios. And
Okay.
I believe it beat. It was something pretty good.
You won a match in NBA?
Yeah, yeah, I beat Snake with it. Yeah, that's right. I actually used the Latios too, but
Neither of us having very successful NPA runs.
yeah.
But that's besides the point.
So I basically just played with Kangaskhan stuff, and then I went to the PC and I used Shade Vieira's team in
Mhm.
the PC, and I just got stomped and I went like 0-3 drop or 1-3 drop. I did beat someone's dad, but but then I was like, okay, I can't play Shade's team. That's pretty obvious because
Mhm.
going into the PC, I was like, I'm just going to use Shade's team. It's the best team in the game. I'm going to use it. But then I didn't do so well on the PC, so I decided to go back to more of what I found success with chalk. So
And
I
then you
went,
were frantically messaging me, Conan, and Jive
yeah,
at like 2 in the morning.
yeah. So I played with King's kind of Azumarill stuff until like 2, 3 in the morning, and then because I was actually at Kennan's house,
With
and
Cedric, Jake, Blake, and all
Cedric,
those
Jake,
people.
Sam,
Ben.
Ben, yeah,
Was Ian
and
there? No.
no, Ian wasn't. So I had a
Same.
room with just Blake and I in it
Hmm.
because there were so many of us. We had to be in different rooms, and then Blake like went to bed early, but I stayed up till like 2. I stayed up till 3 a.m. Playing like on
This
Battle Spot.
happens like every event.
So it's 3 a.m. and then it was about 2 a.m. when Conan and Jive suggested looking at the winners team of Battle Road Gloria, which was a user named Sea Chicken in Japan.
Hmm.
I think at least that's what his name is. So he had the same core 4, but with Cresselia and Heatran over Aegislash Entei, and that gave me a little bit better of a rain matchup with Cresselia, but it also gave me like a much more like stable defensive backbone to the team.
Hmm.
I mean, Landorus and Kangaskhan and Thundurus are all very bulky, but Azumarill is rather frail, and it just turned into this really like bulky juggernaut that just sat there and did damage without taking much back.
All right.
So that was basically how I built the team, and it was a bunch of comfort picks basically. I went with what I've played best with over the past month, and it happened to be Kangaskhan Azumarill. And this was before, like, I started playing with it pretty early, but I was definitely influenced, like,
All right.
mainly by Gavin, because he used Azumarill at Worlds, and I definitely felt like it was a good pick.
Mm-hmm.
So I started messing with it with Kangaskhan right away after Worlds. So we can probably go into the team now.
What surprised me the most about the fact that you actually had to transition into Cresselia and you didn't like start off with it, given that haven't you used it in every team?
Cresselia and Heatran.
Well,
I used
not at Worlds. You didn't use Heatran.
Yeah, not at Worlds. I didn't use Heatran at Worlds, but outside of Worlds, I use Heatran at every event, like every regional, and then I use Cresselia at every event.
Okay.
With the 2015 rule set.
It was meant to be. You were
Yeah.
eventually having to do that. So
I
I'll leave a link to the original like Battle Road Gloria article in the description of this video, but we can just go ahead and start off with Kangaskhan. I mean, I started off with Kangaskhan with Blake's team, but there was very little to say about it because it was Jolly 252, 252. But this spread, it's a very slow Kangaskhan.
Yeah. So this is right after Worlds. I'm like I asked Conan, who basically Conan and Jive were my Kangaskhan teachers. So I asked Conan for a good spread, and this is basically the spread that all three of us used for the past month in all of our MPA matches, all the regionals, all three regionals all three of us attended, and I'm pretty sure Jive used this one.
We'll find out in a separate video.
So basically, it's this really slow, bulky Kangaskhan that can like live other low kicks and stuff. But it also has a little speed. I believe it outspeeds Max Speed Tyranitar.
Yeah.
In Mega form, but when it's not Mega, it's really slow. And like I actually found in one of in the PC before, I used the same spread but with Vieira's team, and I actually got outsped by a Rotom and burned. So that was something I had to take into consideration because
you're also outsped by Adamant Bisharp before Mega Evolution.
Yeah, so it's definitely like a weird spread, but I enjoyed it. It was like I knew, like I played with it for the past month, so it was definitely like comfortable for me. But I think like the main thing that stands out is that this isn't a Azumarill team, so naturally you would assume that you'd run a max speed, max attack Kangaskhan. But I felt like I never really needed it because while Azumarill was important, the rest of the team like kind of covered up for her. So if I didn't necessarily like need to set up, like especially in mirrors, I didn't need to fake out other Kangaskhan's.
Well, for the mirror, you also have inner focus, so you're if they're going to get like greedy and know that you're slower and fake you out, you can just not Mega Evolve and fake out themselves.
Actually, in the Premier Challenge the night before, someone let Sylveon Kangaskhan into my Kangaskhan. I believe it was like Landorus or Thundurus. But what I forgot to do is she just faked out my my Kangaskhan. And I could have won the game right there if I just faked out her Sylveon, like super powered. But instead, I just tried to like return the Sylveon, and I just got hit with a Hyper Voice, and it was just really bad. But so I think like definitely my inexperience with inner focus was detrimental in the PC. But I don't think it really like came up the day of. But I was looking for opportunities to abuse inner focus, or just like watching out, like remembering that I had it. Because of the nightmare in the PC before.
Well, then you also have to remember that you don't have Scrappy.
Yeah.
That's probably more important. Just so you know. You can't, like, fake out Gengar or Aegislash or anything of the sort.
Yeah.
But anyways, moving on. You were talking about Azumarill a lot. Would you say this team's built around Azumarill, even though you lack any sort of redirection whatsoever, Mr. I refuse to use Amoonguss ever?
So even though it was built around Azumarill, I decided not to play Amoonguss like on purpose, like because most teams you start with Azumarill, Amoonguss, Kangaskhan, like we saw with like many of the teams you'll probably see on our channel. I know Kamal and both Wolf used Amoonguss with it. Both the semifinalists at Fort Wayne did, so it's definitely like a huge core in this set of regionals, but I lacked Amoonguss because I felt really uncomfortable with Amoonguss. I've never been an Amoonguss player.
Even though you're a huge Trick Room user.
Yeah, I always respect Amoonguss when it comes to fighting against it, but I never use it. So, like, I chose not to use it out of comfort. Like, even though the team might be better with an Amoonguss over like Cresselia or maybe even Heatran, but I decided not to play it out of comfort. So
that's fair.
That was the main reason, especially because it was also like 3 in the morning,
yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah. All right. I'll respect it. So, this is like a usual Azumarill spread, hitting the even HP stat for citrus activation. Interesting thing we saw throughout regionals is people using knockoff over play rough.
Yeah, basically that was just me being behind on a trend. Like, I didn't really think about it. Even though knockoff's probably the better choice, I just went with play rough.
Your team covers Egg Slash well enough already.
Yeah, I didn't feel really threatened by it, so I didn't really like regret running play rough. But I think
it's still a perfectly fine move. Fairy coverage being very useful in the first place.
The main one is like the ability to KO Amoonguss. Yeah, that would KO Amoonguss at +6.
Oh yeah,
and play rough and Aqua Jet can't really touch it. But the only thing like play rough would give you is Azumarill mirrors. Actually, this came up when I was playing against Kamal in one of the rounds of Swiss, the second last round.
Oh yeah, if it has knockoff.
He had knockoff, so my Azumarill was able to like beat his even though he was at +6. So it kind of paid off there, but I definitely think knockoff's better.
Actually, yeah, I can see that being very, very useful for the.
Like in the mirrors, especially because of how popular Azumarill is. I think knockoffs, you should probably go with knockoff 90% of the time, but if you're kind of weak to Amoonguss, like I actually am, or not Amoonguss, Azumarill, like play rough's not a terrible choice, but it's a little inferior.
Alright, that's fair. So your Landorus, contrary to what the Sea Chicken used, he had a Scarf Landorus. You opted for a Jolly Max Speed Life Orb variant.
So I played Landorus was another Pokemon I actually hadn't ever used in competitive play, like outside of your challenge. Yeah.
I never used it. You've used like Gastrodon and Tyranitar. Yeah. Okay.
Also in like 2013 when I was bad, I used like Garchomp even though he was like inferior in every way. But I was one of those like noobs who was like really hated Landorus. But
you gotta embrace it.
Yeah, I embraced it for this set of regionals after it won Worlds again. I played around with a bunch of sets. Scarf is probably the worst set right now, so I never even gave that one a shot. So the first set I went to was Life Orb, which was the one that Tony used, and it was a set that, like, the ability to OHKO Kangaskhan with superpower is kind of dumb. So that was like instantly appealing to me that a Landorus could just OHKO it. That's why I like choice banded Landorus, but the ability to do this without a choice band is even better.
I mean, Blake mentioned how dumb Kangaskhan is, so
yeah,
just being able to knock it out right off the bat is pretty dumb, I guess, in theory as well.
And he also will outspeed before she Mega Evolves, and they also have to be like pretty much max speed. I think they're pretty close. I think he's 98 base speed, or something.
98? No.
Or 89.
Liners? It's 91.
91? Okay, so she has to run like Jolly to at least outspeed this one. So I ran with this set, but I also tested a lot of Assault Vest and a little bit of Choice Band, but Choice Band was very underwhelming. But I liked Assault Vest, but I just felt it didn't have the power that Landorus should have as being one of the best Pokemon in the game. So I went with my comfort set at this point. Conan and Jive told me to use Assault Vest because it was better, but I went with Life Orb because I played with this thing like for most of MPA as well.
You also have the Protect option. Did that ever come up?
I liked having Protect just because sometimes you can like fake out people. Because most Landorus are Assault Vest now or Choice Band or Choice Scarf still, sadly. But I don't think Protect came up specifically where I won a game off of it, but I like.
In theory, it also helps with the Azumarill matchup. Like, just the fact that it's just not a sitting duck. It just isn't just like easily knocked out with an Aqua Jet. You can at least stall it out for a turn. Do like chip damage to the opposing Azumarill. Okay, and then Landorus' partner, your favorite Pokemon.
Yeah.
Cresselia. Now, this is a very. Did Sea Chicken also use Rocky
Yeah,
Helmet?
this is his spread.
Oh, there's
moveset,
no
and
there's
item.
no nature on this one.
Oh,
What was the
it's
nature?
supposed to be modest.
Modest. Okay, that makes sense. All right, there we go. Fixed it. So Psychic, Icy Wind, Hidden Power, Ground, and Trick Room. The obvious, like, okay, everything about this Cresselia is wacky, simply because of how offensive it is, but at the same time, it has both Icy Wind and Trick Room.
Yeah. So basically, like, you start off with, I'll cover the Icy Wind and Trick Room last. Psychic is your base move. Like, it's her best move. And then Hidden Power Ground was because I expected a lot of Heatrans, and you don't want to just be walled by it.
I mean, I think it was, like, at least number 3 in usage at Worlds. Like,
Yeah.
I think I saw more Heatran than Thundurus.
So definitely, it's something that you need to be able to be prepared for. So I went with Hidden Power Ground to be able to handle the other Cresselias, or the other Heatrans. And then, I really adore Icy Wind as a move. It's something it's something I wanted to use all year, and I did use at Seattle, but that event I only got top 32. But it's just such a punishing move because you can just like spam Icy Wind, and if a Landorus is in, he either has to get Icy Winded and reduce his speed, or you have to Icy Wind the switch, and then you're going to outspeed it next turn. So my speed stat allowed to abuse Icy Wind. I believe it outspeeds base 100s. It might outspeed Garchomp actually, just in case.
Okay.
So basically outspeed everything above, like Kangaskhan, Charizard, Volcarona, all those base 100 Pokemon. And then it'll also do a good chunk, like it'll 2 a KO like Landorus with Icy Wind.
And then that makes sense.
And then it had basically max special attack because it was supposed to be like an offensive force on the team, not a like defensive juggernaut that I usually run. So it kind of is a threat in itself. And then it has Rocky Helmet mainly because I couldn't give it
Citrus. Goggles
Citrus.
is taken. I mean,
Goggles is taken.
You could have gone Leftovers, but
yeah.
like, you're not
I also
really
could have
bulky.
gone Keyberry, but I don't have Moonlight, so it just didn't. I felt like Rocky Helmet was a good choice.
I think
didn't
it's the best option for that.
Yeah. It didn't activate much throughout the day, but I definitely don't regret running it. And then Trick Room was mainly for like having this mode because I had a very slow Heatran, Azumarill, and Kangaskhan, so I was able to abuse them in Trick Room, like in theory.
I mean, your Kangaskhan even being slower than your Heatran.
Yeah. So it happened once in Swiss against Brianna. The first time I ended up losing 2 in top 8, but in Swiss she didn't expect my Cresselia to have Trick Room for some reason, so I basically 4-0'd her.
You're the battle room.
I know. So she got bodied. It was basically a 4-0. I'm pretty sure it was a 4-0. But then in
top cut, she's like, "Oh, you do have Trick Room. Now you lose."
So she was able to, like, I couldn't deal with her tracking because it had Taunt, which stopped my speed control with Trick Room. And I couldn't control the speed with Thundurus because she had Raichu.
What about Icy
Lightning
Wind?
Rod. I could potentially use Icy Wind, but there was also the Bisharp.
Oh. She had everything for you, man.
And not only, so another way I could beat her is with Kangaskhan because she was actually rather weak to it. But
she had Chandelure, Terrakion.
Chandelure wasn't as big of a deal, but Terrakion had White Herb, so I couldn't intimidate it to live the close combat. So it was just a mess. It was a terrible matchup when Trick Room couldn't go up and I couldn't get Trick Room up.
She had your number, man. She had everything for you.
So I basically kind of got bodied in top 8. I think I could have played better, but it's over now. I got top 8 out. I guess I'm happy with that.
It's good enough for you.
But Trick Room's also a staple on all of my teams, so I kind of had to run it.
Basically. And then, like the perfect... would you say that Heatran is like the perfect partner for Cresselia?
Probably. Also, it's supposed to be modest, not timid.
Modest, yeah. Yeah, this is my spread. How dare you mess this up? Right.
Yeah, so this is basically the same spread I used. Or it's very similar. I think it's faster than the spread I used at Nationals by a little bit.
What? You edited my spread? How dare you? Okay, yeah. I think it is a bit faster.
Yeah.
Although,
actually slower.
Yeah, slower, because it doesn't outspeed Bisharp, this one. Yeah, this is much slower. And for whatever reason, I doubt this ever showed up, but it speed ties Kangaskhan before it Mega Evolves.
Actually, I think it's supposed to be. I think it was just your spread. Yeah, it's 188 204. Because
Okay, yeah.
I had timid when I was making the spread.
Glad
So-
we are fixing that before I post the paste bin in the description. Yeah, because you were
So, yeah.
you were talking about how it was faster than your Kangaskhan. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
not faster. But wait, it still doesn't outspeed Bisharp. What?
It should at 204.
Oh, the other way around. Yes, we
Yep.
are learning math. Yeah, that. Okay, 188 special attack. Yeah, by 1 point.
Yeah.
Okay, that's. I'd say that's probably the most important spread on your team. Just the fact that that is your answer to Bisharp, because
Yeah.
your lander isn't living sucker punches, because that's not how it's EV trained.
Also, my Kangaskhan does well against Bisharp, but
Yeah, because
Heatran-
it's even slower than it. So.
Heatran was basically the backbone. Like
Hmm.
he made everything. Although he was
The glue. to
yeah
the team.
he was basically the last Pokemon I added, even though Thundurus is last. But
Mhm.
Heatran was definitely very important to the team. I didn't use him too much, but I'm glad I had the option to.
Mhm.
I think he helped with Amoonguss as well, who could be an issue
Yeah,
for Azumarill
sub, heat
especially.
wave. Can't really go
Mm.
wrong with it. Oh,
Yeah.
Aegislash as well.
Yeah,
Especially since you didn't have Swagger on your next Pokemon.
yeah. I actually didn't like bring him too much into the Aegislashes. I was able to deal with him with Landorus and Taunt on my Thundurus. So,
Okay.
but I'm like he's a good answer to Aegislash, and he just like also Gardevoir was also like kind of an issue if I let her if I let her just scream on me. So
Oh yeah, Gardevoir and Sylveon. It's your only fairy resist, so
Yeah.
it's important. Like beforehand, you said you had Entei, Aegislash over
yeah,
Heatran.
exactly.
But with the Trick Room mode, you basically need Heatran in that slot.
Yeah.
And then
So
Shuck a
Heatran
Berry.
was he just was like bread and butter,
Mhm.
easy, good Pokemon. I'm glad I used him.
Much like
He's-
most
He's
of
probably
this
the
game.
most. He's probably the most boring Pokemon like on the team.
I'd argue the next one is, except the item change.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had Thundurus.
So Thundurus.
I mean, Goggles is fun.
It was mainly for the Azumarills.
Well, not only that, you're forced into it because Azumarill needs the citrus.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're
so
not going to go something like... I think I told you to try Lefty Substitute Thundurus, just because, whatever reason, I was like, no one uses Substitute Thundurus. It could work, maybe. I know Wolf used it. I forget. I don't know what his details were, but I was kind of...
his was
hyped to
Life
see it.
Orb. His was Life Orb substitute with HP Ice and Thunderbolt. Max speed, I believe.
Protect
So it was mainly like
sub.
an aggressive. Yeah, it was an aggressive Thundurus.
Okay, that's one way to run sub then. But this
basically,
is bread and butter, like you said with Heatran.
so I used in most of the PCs. I actually used Assault Vest Landers and
Life Orb Thundurus?
and Life Orb Thundurus.
Okay.
But I wanted to use Life Orb Landers, so I had to basically throw Thundurus to the side and choose the Thundurus item based on what the Landorus item was.
Mm-hmm.
Because Conan told me to use Assault Vest Life Orb Thundurus because he loves Life Orb, and Jive, I believe, also loves Assault Vest Landorus. So they both told me to run the other set,
But you went with your gut.
Yeah, I went with what I was comfortable with Landorus. So then Thundurus was my next, like the one I had to fill an item on, and Safety Goggles is a little underwhelming, but
Mm-hmm. There is one thing you can abuse with Safety Goggles that you actually did not opt for, in that of Skydrop.
oh yeah,
A lot of Thunders with Safety Goggles opt for that, like second coverage, like over Hidden
I don't
Power
think I was
Ice.
fast enough. I was too
Oh
slow.
yeah, you were definitely way
With
too slow
bold.
for Skydrop.
I believe this spread lives Double Edge from Kangaskhan,
Oh jeez. Okay.
which is just not adamant though. I think just Jolly. So and then I
Mhm.
think I just put 4 special attack for like filler, and then 36 speed, tout speed, Breloom, and then the rest in special defense. Because you're supposed to be like a defensive pivot.
Mhm.
Safety Goggles is nice though, because you can just switch into spores. Like it's like having another grass type.
Yeah,
if
like you
have-
didn't have knockoff for Azumarill. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, everything on your team can't switch into a spore, so that the Safety Goggles on the Thundurus is pretty important.
Generally, people run Swagger over Taunt, but I felt that like, although I'm not against Swagger, I've used it at events, I've won games off of it. It's I don't think it's as reliable as Taunt, and I just wanted something like really safe to deal with Aegislash, Amoonguss.
I mean, regionals being best of one,
Yeah.
of course, in Swiss. Taunt's
So, like,
definitely being a safe play.
I can taunt the Aegislash, and then they'll be forced to die to Sucker Punch from Kangaskhan. It makes the Aegislash matchup much easier. It also makes the Amoonguss matchup easier if he doesn't have Mental Herb. I think there were.
I mean, you could have opted for it over HP Ice. Was there a reason why you wanted Hidden Power?
Basically, whenever I play Thundurus, I will be using HP Ice because I don't like the idea of being locked against the Landorus without being able to touch it.
Just hit Swagger.
Yeah.
Swagger and pray.
Yeah.
Swagger and pray the day away.
I prefer HP Ice. I also like
consistent damage.
Being able to chip it on switches if you can call it, which sometimes it's easy to call under a switch.
Also, what is it? Sludge Bomb Amoonguss would be an issue if you didn't have HP Ice.
Yeah.
Even if it can't spore you, you can just like chip away with Sludge Bomb, which people opt
potentially.
for.
Then I'd be able to win the one-on-one.
Yeah. So,
I never ended up really using HP Ice, but I'm always glad to have it.
It's all theory, just best of one, safety. I mean, you got to top 8. Were there any like tough matchups you had in Swiss?
Well, I went 7-0, and then the last round of Swiss I played Blake.
Yeah.
And so his victory was assured, but we did play it out, and he kind of beat me. The matchup was, I think I would have ultimately, if I would have beaten Brianna, I would have had to play a Gardevoir team, which I think I had a better. I think I could have beaten it, but I think ultimately I wouldn't have been able to beat Blake, and I would have gotten second because of the matchup.
Like he had the Cresselia just like run over your team. We saw the his team last video.
Also the Rotom Wash. The Rotom Wash was a huge issue, especially because it was scarfed, so Landorus couldn't even like just chunk it with Superpower or Rock Slide.
Geez, it just like knocks you out. And then the Azumarill.
I basically had to play Trick Room. I like really focused on playing Trick Room against Blake.
I think like the reason Blake runs over your team, we even talked about this with I talked about this with Blake, is the fact that you don't have Amoonguss.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess
I mean,
I think
it works without it.
He actually played against basically the same team in top 4 in LP fan, but he did have Amoonguss and Blake still won. So.
I mean, we also talked about that. That might have been... He thought as though it was a horrible matchup for him, but...
It actually wasn't,
ultimately, he played better, I guess.
Yeah.
But oh well. Alright, that's your team. Nothing really too special about it. We talked about
pretty boring
and Conan. I mean, did you place higher than both Jive and Conan? Or no, Jive also got top 8, but...
Yeah, Conan didn't cut. He was the only one out of our little team building group that didn't cut.
I heard some shaky things about his matches, but that's what Pokemon is.
He used Vieira's team down to the point, and then Jive's team will be covered soon, so...
Yeah. Even though I'm pretty sure he's going to win the poll, but I'll upload this first because you bothered me, and I recorded this first.
Yeah, he just had Conan's team, if anyone wants to steal it, was basically just Amoonguss with Sunny Day over Protect over my Azumarill, Saltless Landorus, Life Orb Thundurus with Substitute, and basically the same Cresselia but with Ice Beam. And
Ice Beam.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually might even see that in a video later if I can interview Paul Chua. I'm pretty sure he used Psychic Ice Beam, Hidden Power Ground, Trick Room.
Yeah.
But possibly with Citrus.
Was something Conan liked a lot with Amoonguss, so that was the only...
Oh, Air Balloon Heatran. Okay, I want to talk about that for just a split second because he tried so hard to convince me to use it at Lancaster. And I'm like, what does Air Balloon Heatran even do?
I would have used it on this team if I had Amoonguss. Because basically what it allows you to do is have Amoonguss Heatran in against Landorus, and if they're choiced, they can't get you at all, because they can't...
Yeah, the superpower, you redirect that. Okay.
Yeah, they have to Rock Slide, but now we have much more like diverse Landorus, so they can just Rock Slide Earthquake, but... But if he gets behind a sub, it's very hard for Landorus to get at the Heatran.
You can also switch in on Earthquakes.
Yeah.
But...
It's very like a niche item. I think it's more of a comfort choice for Conan at this point because he's been playing it since spring. But But Sugar Berry is just pretty boring and effective, so
All right.
I like Sugar Berry.
So that was your team, your run, Houston. Anything else you want to mention before we end the video? I mean, you talked about Kenan and Blake.
Yeah. I mean, I had fun.
That's the important part.
Like I always do. We had to drive 3 hours. I had to drive 3 hours in the back seat.
Oh,
With
boo-hoo.
Blake and Cedric. It was the three of us.
Oh, that sounds very fun.
Cedric did not have a good time because he was in the middle. We had to listen to 21 Pilots for like an hour. I kind of hated it a little bit.
Whoa.
But
Jake
then I got
is going to dislike this video now.
And then I got the aux cord and we hit up some better stuff.
Some K-pop, T-Swift.
Some GameCube controller sounds. there's like a video of 3 hours of GameCube.
Yeah, I'm very aware of that video. Don't worry about it. All right, thanks for coming by, Colin.
Thank you.
Next time we'll definitely have. You know what? I'm just gonna upload them like within 10 minutes of each other. So
Okay.
watch this video. Watch Jive's video. I'm sure Jive will talk about you plenty. All right.
Yeah,
Until next
our teams
time.
are pretty similar. Pretty boring, but
Entei's cool. Don't worry.
yeah, Entei's cool. I love Entei. I wish I could have used it, but I went with Cresselia Heatran instead.
Whatever. All right. Until next time. I've been Caleb. And
I've been Colin.
all right. Take care.